Meeting to order, and welcome everyone. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Township's YouTube page. And under the Municipal Act, in accordance with Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, all information obtained is considered part of the public record. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Fenwick, Councillor Milligan, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Councillor Milligan.
I would like to declare for item 5.1 in closed session.
Thank you. Any open forum delegations this evening? So presentations, the initial presentation is Quinte Conservation update on floodplain mapping project funding, and Christine Philibert is here from Quinte Conservation. Welcome, Christine. Not at all. You can sit or stand. Press the silver button. That will activate your mic, unless it's not turned on at the back there, which it may not be. Can someone help Christine with the mic there? There you are. The floor is yours when you're ready, Christine.
Okay, thank you very much for having me tonight. I'm here to present our Salmon and Napanee River floodplain updates. And if we flip to the next slide, the outline that we have is the purpose of floodplain mapping, some history, floodplain mapping development, so what are the steps we take in order to update our floodplain mapping, our current progress, and our next steps. And that was brought on because we've completed one of the first steps within the project. So Quinte Conservation protects people and property from flooding, and we do this through prevention, so keeping development away from the floodplain, and reviewing the flow capacity of bridges and culverts, and making sure that they don't impact flooding as well. We also support through our Planning and Regulations Department any flood proofing efforts to protect properties that are already within the floodplain. And we have a number of flood management structures that we can operate to, again, protect people from flooding. And through our flood forecasting and warning program, we support municipal emergency response and public preparedness and response for flooding by predicting at what time and what magnitude the flood will overtop its banks. We have floodplain maps, which can help our municipalities respond to flooding by understanding what roads and houses may be impacted by floodwaters, which can help in determining road closures and evacuations. And in terms of recovery, there's the opportunity to build back better. So through Ontario Regulation 4124 of the Conservation Authorities Act, we are required to update our floodplain mapping. And all of these programs and services that we provide are part of Ontario Regulation 68621, our mandatory programs and services. Next slide. So some history. The current floodplain mapping is quite old. It was developed in the late 1970s. And in 2024, we updated the base mapping for the floodplain mapping, as well as the floodplain mapping for the upper Salmon River and Napanee River lakes. According to M&R, for the density and land use on the Salmon and Napanee rivers, that mapping should be updated every 10 to 15 years. So we're approaching 50, we're well behind schedule. As well, our staff know that this mapping is quite old. It requires updates because of the flood flow data is off. The hydraulic modeling procedures aren't very sound and that we don't have geodetic benchmarks on the current mapping. Further, with any mapping of this age, we require updated, or we have updated hydrometric data, land use data, climate, elevation data, as well as modern technology that would provide a more accurate depiction of the floodplain. Having this mapping supports development proposals, emergency management, and municipal infrastructure planning. It also reduces the time and effort required by developers who need to receive their own approvals. Next slide. So now these are the steps that we take to update floodplain mapping. The first is the base mapping. This is your slopes, your land use, soils. A lot of that data already exists in our GIS systems. The recent project updated the geometry, which is the shape of the river channel, the overbank, the material within the channel, which affects the friction that the water encounters as it's going through the channel and over the overbank. The next part, hydrology, that refers to when rain falls on the land and snow melts, how much water is reaching the river and what time does it reach the river. And once we have how much water reaches the river, we put it into a hydraulic model to determine how high the water will get, how far it will flood, and we put that information then onto floodplain maps. Next slide. So our current progress to date, we have completed the field investigations that support the hydraulic models and the hydrologic models, measuring the geometry of the channel, the overbank, measuring all of the bridges, culverts, and inline structures such as dams, as well as getting an assessment of the land cover and channel bottom, which again feeds into that roughness and friction that happens in the channel. Next slide. So the next steps is to complete steps 2, 3, and 4 for the project. There's currently an open funding application through the federal government, which would support 50% funding to complete the project. That funding runs out at the end of March 2028. And we have other studies underway. So as I said earlier, we finished the Salmon River Upper Lakes and Napanee River Upper Lakes floodplain maps. And as part of that, we've completed some of the modeling that would feed our understanding of how water runs off the land in the north, or the upstream sections. And similarly, we'll be doing the same thing for Third Depot Lake, which all kind of reduces the costs of the overall next steps of the project. And next slide. That's the presentation.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions or comments, Council? Yes, Councillor Lalande.
Would you mind just going back to the very last slide? So you're seeking municipal support. What type of support are you talking? Financial or boots on the ground, or?
Yeah, so to complete the next steps, we would be looking to ensure that all of the municipalities who would be stakeholders in the project would be interested in finalizing the project. There would be a financial contribution. So up to this point, each benefiting municipality has contributed to this stage that we've got to so far. We've done a very rough estimate, although it's not of what the costs are, but it's hard to tell exactly because we haven't done a project of this size and scale for almost 50 years. And so I would say, and the last part of that story is that we have all these little pieces of the project already completed. So taking those off, I don't know how much savings it would yield, but I would estimate a total project cost of $200,000 for each project, which would, the benefit and apportionment for stone mills would be between 50 and 60,000. Not necessarily for next fiscal year, but for hopefully before 2028. Yeah, and I guess those costs could double if we waited until after 2028.
Anyone else? I have a couple of questions, Christine. So you have done some updating on the upper parts of the watershed. How have the new sort of flood lines compared with the ones that were done in the 70s? Is it pretty close, or what have you noticed?
Yeah, some are very similar. In some cases, it's gotten bigger. In some cases, it's gotten smaller. In all cases, it's gotten more accurate. We have so much more data, better modeling techniques. Even with today's computing power, it can sometimes take days for them to run these computer models to get a result. Take that back 50 years, we didn't have the capacity to understand the floodplain like we do now.
And using, I don't know the terminology very well. It's been a while since I've been at the CA. Using this, are they using the same assumptions, I guess, for the 1 in 100 flood calculation, or is the potential for maybe more intense rainfall or runoff being thrown into the mix due to climate change?
Yes, they are considering both new, let me say, improved climate statistics. So Environment and Climate Change Canada update their climate normals every 10 years. So we would be using the most current climate data to support the project. But in addition to that, they also model a number of different storms. So at Quinte Conservation, we regulate the 1 in 100 year storm. It has a 1% chance of occurring any year. But we also look at storms that could happen more frequently, which can help mostly with emergency response. And the other thing that we do is we do a climate change projection, 2 climate change projections, and those are mapped as well. So there's a number of different deliverables that form the project outcome. Most important for Quinte Conservation is the regulatory event, as well as the smaller return periods, so that we can warn appropriately if people are at flood risk during a flood. However, those climate change scenarios, we've seen some municipalities use those for their infrastructure planning, because when you design and install a bridge, you don't want it to be outdated within the first 10 years of its life, when it's supposed to last much longer.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wrote something else down here, and I don't know what my coded language means now. Oh yeah, Third Lake Dam. This is not entirely off topic, but I'm just wondering what the CA is considering in terms of either repair or possibly just removal. Where are you at with those considerations?
Yep. Quinte Conservation is currently undertaking an environmental assessment for the Third Depot Lake Dam. It currently doesn't meet the structural capacity for its design use. And so we're looking at a number of different scenarios, and they're all listed on our website. I'm going to try to list them all from memory, but there's do nothing, There's some repair options where we repair the dam in place as well as raise it up so that it can pass the design storm event. There's replacing the dam with a weir, which would fully overtop in a storm event, removal of the dam, and adjust the operating plan, which doesn't address all of the current conditions of the dam, but it does reduce the overall liability with the structure if it were to fail.
So supposing you decided on the weir option or the removal, how would that change the operation at Second Lake, and how would it affect Second Lake levels?
That's a great question. We're currently studying that. So within the next week, we will likely issue a contract to a consultant who is studying how the different options at Third Depot Lake and how the changes in its operable ability will affect both high water concerns and low water concerns and its interaction with the rest of the Napanee River system, including Second Depot Lake Dam.
Thanks very much, Christine. Anyone have anything else? Councillor Fenwick?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I did read your report on that. Was there not also a consideration about building a new dam farther downstream from Third?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was curious about that one as well.
Absolutely, that is an option as well.
That's interesting. So when do you expect to, or when are you hoping to have a decision on the Depot Lakes dam?
Yeah, we anticipate the Depot Lakes environmental assessment to be completed by March 2027. And then depending on the option, we may be looking at designs in the 2027 year.
And hoping in the meantime we don't have one of those 1 in 100s
Yeah.
storms back there.
Thankfully, the design standards for dams are significantly higher than for our bridges and culverts. Because they hold back so much water, it can be quite catastrophic if they were to fail. So the Depot Lakes would be okay in a 1 in 100 year storm.
Thanks very much, Christine. Can I get a motion to receive Christine's report? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just a quick comment for purposes of the minutes. There's a recommendation that the presentation be received for information. However, I see you are looking for municipal support. So are you guys looking for funding within our 2026 budget, or just an overall blanket statement that the township intends to support the updated floodplain mapping?
That's a great question. You're the first council that I've been to for this project. So I don't anticipate that I can see all of the other municipalities for next fiscal year. However, it's a rolling funding application, so they have a lot of flexibility for when we start. I don't know if I can leave it with council to.
Well, we can come up with some wording that we certainly offer support in principle, and we'll consider the financial requests as they are made. Yeah, we can't vote on something that we don't have a dollar figure or a date for. So can I get someone to make a motion to that effect? Councillor Milligan? Any seconder? Councillor McDonald? Does that give you what you need? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Christine. Okay. Deputations, Ronald Yeomans, LNA Transportation Subsidy Program, seeking a letter of support from Council for a subsidized transportation system to run throughout LNA County. Hello. Just press the button. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Reeve and members of council. So the proposal is a county-wide proposal. We are going to be seeking grant money and writing grant applications to fulfill the transportation project that we're presenting. So basically what it does is it connects rural Lennox and Addington with the town of Greater Napanee and backwards, where it would connect the town of Greater Napanee to rural areas and family members and services and stuff across the county. It is a shuttle service. It's a door-to-door service. We would pick people up. They'd call ahead of time, and we would put them on a route, and they would be transported from their door in whichever county they happen to reside in, into a specific location in Napanee. We have about 23 support letters from support agencies and counseling groups and things throughout the county that offer support and counseling to members of the county. We have a letter from the county supporting the project and a letter from the town of Greater Napanee supporting the project. And tonight I'm asking Stone Mills if they would also give us a letter of support to help move forward with the project. That's it in a nutshell.
We like things in a nutshell. Thank you. Councillor Land.
I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
Anyone else or any comment? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I just wondered, I know we spoke before, but I just wasn't completely clear. Exactly, other than this letter of support, what are you asking of us?
At this time, nothing. It is just a letter of support. Now, we have decided to move forward with the project, although we have not received funding yet, on a 2-day-a-week basis for Stone Mills Township, North Addington Highlands Township, and the rural areas of the town of Greater Napanee, just kind of to collect some data for grant applications and stuff. But all we're asking from this county and from this council is just a letter of support.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
So you're up and running now. Are you serving anyone from our hamlets and Stone Mills?
We are not up and running yet. We will be starting January 1st. We have sent out kind of a detailed letter of how the project will work and a kind of filing cabinet sized brochure for all the agencies that have supported. And I think I sent one to you. Did I include you on that, Brandy? It just came the other day, and I think I included you, Sherry. Yeah, it was out about a week or so, 2 weeks ago. But it will start January 1st, yes.
And-
Follow up?
And the funding that's still a 5-year project type funding package?
We haven't secured any funding yet, but we are working on it. And yes, we would like it to be a 5-year commitment, yes.
Councillor Woodcock.
Thank you for your work on this and going ahead. Rural areas, like we are underserved when it comes to transportation access. We have worse rates of mental health outcomes because people can't access services. We have greater rates of domestic violence because people cannot access services. Senior abuse, the ability to connect people to services is essential, and I think it's really great that you're taking this on and that we're gonna, it's best to get moving, get some data and see what works, and I would love to second this motion. I think it's really important.
Anyone else? I guess I'm a little more in the dark here. So, Ronald, you run a transportation service? You have buses or taxi, or what's the transportation infrastructure that you're representing here?
Okay, so I do own Napanee Cab, the taxi service out of Napanee. But we have, for funding purposes, we have opened a nonprofit organization to apply for the grants because they won't supply. Transportation's not a mandate for anybody. And they won't supply private individuals.
That clarifies it for me. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there anything else you need, Randy?
Brief-wise, there was, just so everyone's clear on the wording, I've got this drafted, that the delegation be received and further that council supports an LNA transportation system in principle, and further that the CAO and REEF draft a letter in support for Mr. Humans. So.
Is that agreeable to the movers? Yes? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Ronald. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to items for consideration. 8.1, CAO Performance Appraisal Consultant. The recommendation is that this report be received and that council approve engagement of HR Management Services on demand to develop and implement a performance appraisal and development plan for the Chief Administrative Officer in accordance with a hybrid approach model. And the council identify 2 or 3 members to form a working group to collaborate with the consultant throughout the development and implementation of the performance appraisal process, and that the working group be authorized to work directly with the consultant to achieve the objectives of this initiative, including receiving compiled survey results and providing input on framework design. Can I get that on the floor with a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Lalonde, Councillor McDonald. Mr. White.
Thank you. Through you, revise the. This is just in response to the report brought earlier to implement a performance appraisal process for myself. I was fortunate enough to find a local resource that is interested in helping council with this process. The identification of 2 to 3 members of council is not that the rest of council is not going to have the opportunity to participate in the process, but to just have a couple of key members be the ones who are the primary contacts working with the consultant to finalize and collect and finalize and deliver the performance appraisal. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have about this.
Any questions or comments, council? Yes, Councillor Fenwick.
I think it's a great idea to have this hybrid model. We already agreed to it, but it's the more when you revisit some of your decisions and review it and say, yeah, it was a good one. Now, one of the things that I had thought was in regards to this when it comes to who should or should not be on it, and my first thought comes to mind that maybe not so much John and Doug, just simply because they do have experience with Jason outside of Stone Mills Township. Thought maybe it should stay with just the experience here in this township. And I'm thinking Wenda and Sherry, since you have more than one term on council. So you have some experience with another CAO and that sort of thing. When it comes to the third, Wendy. So you're basically saying well, I'm just thinking.
Rob's just throwing out some ideas here.
I'm just throwing ideas out here. Yeah, no, I was just thinking Wendy's got some HR experience, which is excellent, and then I'm thinking about your experience on prior councils with the prior CAO might be of use there. I'm just throwing this out for discussion.
Thanks, Rob. Anyone else? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
This is exciting, and it's exciting for you, even though it's scary. Been there, sat there, know what it's about. But I just want to make sure that this HR management services really they will be looking at everything, but some of the components that I've seen get lost in this type of situation is a workload, sustainability. And we forget sometimes to look at the CAO and their workload. Also, burnout awareness is something to make sure that they have worked in some questions around that. And that all comes down to the CAO well-being. So those were 3 things I thought of, that sometimes we're looking so much at the duties that we forget about the individual. So just make sure that's kind of on the plate, hopefully. Give that some thought to the committee.
Thank you, Wendy. Councillor Lalonde.
I definitely agree with what Wendy said. Also, on the performance appraisals I've been involved in the past, Follow-up is always tricky. You know, you can identify certain areas that could use some additional training or education or whatever, but then nobody follows up on it to see if it actually happened and what the result was, and was it worthwhile, and did it provide the benefit that you were hoping it would. And so I don't think you can draft that into this document, but it certainly, again, would be something that council would want to bear in mind to make sure that we follow up. And
Yeah. Anyone else? Were you looking for volunteers for that committee this evening, Jason? Then Rob sort of put some names out there. Are those individuals willing to sit on this committee? So generally, I'm hearing yes. Okay. So we've got Councillor Milligan, Councillor Lalande, and Councillor McDonald are volunteered to sit on the committee. Okay. That's great. Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor. Can we add those members to that motion? Brandy, or is there
Yes, through
anything
you,
else we need?
Reeve-Wise. So I just updated the motion, and that council appoint Councillor Lalonde, Councillor Milligan, and Councillor McDonald to sit on the working group.
Very good. All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. That's great. 8.3, Integrity Commissioner Services Bylaw and Agreement. Oh, sorry, skipped 8.2. Authorization to execute contract for external planning services. Yeah, that's kind of important. That this report be received and the council authorizes the Reeve and CAO to execute the contract with FOTEN for the provision of external planning services. Jason.
Quite simply, this is, thank you, Reeve-Wise, and through you, it's a follow-up to the previous report that we did have a number of firms show interest, and then through the process and evaluation, the recommendation was to engage FOTEN, and the commitment was to bring back the contract to get approval from council, and so that's what we're seeking at this time.
I didn't get a mover and seconder to get that on the floor. Can I get that now? Deputy Reeve Davison and Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? You're happy with the recommendation then? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now 8.3. This is the Integrity Commissioner. The report be received and a bylaw to appoint an Integrity Commissioner for the Township be enacted and passed. Reeve and Clerk authorized to sign and seal, and that the Reeve and Clerk are authorized to execute the agreement found within Schedule A of that bylaw to appoint an Integrity Commissioner. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Councillor Fenwick, any discussion? You've already pretty well been over this. Anything you wish to add, Brandy?
Thank you, Reeve-Wise. In the new year, I'll plan to have the new Integrity Commissioner, Ellen Fry, come to council and just do an introduction, probably via Zoom.
Thank you. Any comment or discussion at this point then? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8.4, Emergency Management Bylaw Update. The recommended motion is that we receive this report and adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan, that it be enacted and passed, and the Reeve and Clerk sign and seal. Can I get this on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan and Deputy Reeve Davison. Any discussion? James, did you wish to add anything to your report?
No, nothing to add to the report.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 8.5, Automotive Materials Stewardship 2026 Agreement. The recommendation is that council receive this report and direct staff to include the household hazardous waste event in the draft 2026 operating budget. Further, that council authorizes the Reeve and CAO to sign the agreement. Manager of Public Works Thompson, did you wish to elaborate on your report or highlight anything in particular?
Through you, Reeve-Wise, nothing to add to the report. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Well, this is a new one. Did we have such an agreement previously with these specific materials for our household hazardous waste day, Jeff? Or is this a new organization similar to Circular Materials of Ontario?
It's the first time coming to council. It's just a normal procedure of the Household Hazardous Waste Day.
Very good, thank you. Did I get a mover and seconder for that one? I did not. Can I get that? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. 8.6, Hydro Access Agreement. The report be received and that council authorizes the Reeve and CAO to sign and implement the attached agreement. Can I get this on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor McDonald. Jeff, this is yours.
Thank you, Reeve-Wise. Just to note, with the Hydro Access Agreement, typically we don't enter into an agreement with Hydro on a maintained road. It's done through municipal consent, whether it's a pole replacement or an easement for guide cables or a hydro pole. With this being on an unmaintained road allowance, we felt it was best to come to council. So it's a new agreement.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
I just have a question in regards to if the hydro are going to be cutting down any trees, do they just leave them? Is that something we have to clean up, or will that even be involved?
Great question through you, Reeve-Wise. I believe it's within the agreement, or it was within the email bodies. Any of the trees they're going to remove or cut to gain access, they'll use for a corduroy road in some of the low-lying areas. And they've already received their permitting through Quinte Conservation on that.
Anyone else? Councillor Fenwick.
Jeff, is there any concern about the fact that when this road is opened up and the service is done, that there'll be locals tempted to explore it that maybe never explored it before?
It's always a possibility, especially during the hunting season. So, yeah, it could be a possibility.
No talk of gates or anything like that? I know we don't like gates, but nothing like that, eh?
No talk about gates or any concern of blocking it off for just hydro.
Along similar lines, the fact that Township is authorizing work to be done on the road allowance, like putting in a corduroy road, does that set any precedents for maintenance?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I never did check with legal, but not that I'm aware of that there's any precedents going forward to keep that level of maintenance on that portion of the road allowance.
What properties border that road allowance, Jeff? Is it just bush or farmland, any hunt camps or anything like that?
There's bush, there's no farmland, and it would actually meet up with the hydro corridor that runs between Rogers Road and Sheffield Camden Boundary Road. And there's a portion of the old rail bed in there as well.
Interesting. Anything else? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Eight 8.7, this is a change order to number 1 to be eligible community depot operations agreement. This is with Circular Materials Ontario, the recycling agency now. The motion is that this agreement, this report be received and that council authorize the Reeve and CAO to execute change order number 1 to the eligible community depot operations agreement with Circular Materials. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Lalande and Councillor Milligan. Jeff, anything you wish to add or explain about this particular agreement?
Through you guys, nothing to add to the report, and I'm happy to take any questions if there is any on the minor changes that are coming into effect January 1st.
Deputy Reeve Davison, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just a question, Jeff. Does this what's gonna be the change at each one of the landfill sites? Any changes with our personnel?
No changes to the personnel, and this is just typically the agreement that we had in place for the last 6 months from July, I believe it was, till the end of the year. And then they just cleaned up some of the wording and a few minor changes for the next 2 years, 3 years of the agreement.
Anyone else? Just generally speaking, Jeff, how are things going with this new recycling regime? Any hiccups or problems, or is it a lot better? What's your impression so far?
Through you, good question. We're still working out some of the quantity of bins that are required. The landfill attendants currently, if they get full, they use one of our garbage bins as an overflow. And then when the recycling bins get dumped, they'll transfer them over to the recycling bins by hand. And it's usually just like the last hour of the day or very minimal amounts. But they're trying to get us more of the 8-yard bins that they have currently.
One thing I noticed, I was there a very windy Wednesday afternoon, and when the fiber materials, the paper bins, get close to the top, stuff blows out of those very easily. I mean, people are dumping boxes of loose papers and so on in there, so I don't know what can be done about that, but it was just an observation.
Yeah, if we get more bins, maybe it's not filling them right to the top.
Yeah.
Prevent them from blowing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Did I get a mover and seconder on that one? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. And our final item for consideration, 8.8, is Chief Building Official Detler's report. This is a report entitled Fees and Charges Update Bylaw. The motion is that the notice of intent to adopt the attached fees and charges bylaw at the regular council meeting of Monday, January 12th is hereby given, and that staff be directed to post such notice on the township social media, and that the attached draft bylaw be considered for adoption at that January 12th, 26th regular council meeting. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor McDonald. Mr. Detler, anything you wish to elaborate on?
Yes, through your worship, some of the increases, mostly in regards to the Stone Mills Recreation Center, have been in the works and kind of have been discussed in the previous really year and a half at a managerial level. And we're just trying to, it's been stuff like promotional advertising costs, at the advertising at the arena. It's stayed static since I started here in 2013, and we just thought it was kind of overdue to try to make a little bit more revenue in that regard. One of the other things that was added there was just the ability to sell advertising on other places like ball fields, which people have approached me in the past. We just never had a set price. Happy to take questions.
Any questions for Jake? Yes, Councillor Fenwick.
Yeah, this is great. I think we should be paying a little more attention to this. As we all know, when we don't have a slow graduating scale annually, biannually, what have you, sometimes it comes a bit of a surprise to people when we get a big jump in 10 years or whatever. So it's good that we're on this now and we can maybe pay more attention to it. One thing that did concern me, and I know we're going to run into this, is that we've got some wonderful community groups, like I'll use the Lions Club as an example, who use some of our facilities at a very heavily subsidized rate for meetings, which I think is great. They do incredible things for us, and they're going to get a little bit of a lift, which doesn't sound like a lot, but to community organizations, any lift is a lift. And it takes money away from the things they do for our communities. So one of the things is, and I certainly think this is great, for example, we did have a rate of $225 for a bar-associated event for Enterprise Community Hall, let's say. And then that was a significant jump from a non-alcohol related event. And it made sense because, of course, generally a bar-related event makes a bit more of a mess. It's just the way it is. This makes sense of that to 125 flat. The concern I have is that I have, in my experience, seen some neighboring townships coming to our facilities here because theirs are either booked up or ours is a smoking deal. And I've actually heard that 3 times in the last 90 days. And that's great. I want these people to come and enjoy our hamlets and visit us, see what we have to offer. However, it is a little concerning that we're actually dropping the rate for most of those events while we're raising the rate for our local community groups. So I'm just not sure if maybe we should be looking at something like 175 or 150 for our flat rate for our community halls, and then using that to offset leaving the rate at a lower rate for our community groups that have meetings and so on. Something like that. Or maybe even we should defer this decision until later so that we can have a little more discussion about it. I hold these community groups near and dear to my heart. I'd hate to take a nickel away from their good work.
Thoughts? What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, actually, I think Rob actually brings up a valid concern there, raising, our Lions clubs, I think they get it for $22.50 or something now. You're essentially bumping that up. But I mean, it's a good discussion. Like I said, this was all numbers discussed at a managerial level. I mean, you look at something like a Lions Club, they could be potentially there multiple times a week. But at the same time, I encourage the debate. Pretty hard to keep doors open sometimes for $22.50 at a time, right? And it might not be that, accurately reflect the society and the costs that we're trying to bear as a municipality. But I do think that Councillor Fenwick does bring up, something where you could have a Lions Club here in January or February talking about, the costs going up significantly, right? So I don't, he's not far off the mark there. And in terms of the bars, most definitely, I have seen there's been a marked increase recently, I think, in use of the bar at the Enterprise Hall. They've got just an excellent deal in terms of the firefighters that are taking care of insurance, taking care of liquor licenses, and definitely, in fact, that I think Councillor Fenwick's saying it's actually going to be a lower price for a liquor license event. One of the things that was discussed at a managerial level was whether you're having a birthday party, non-liquor license there, or you're having a liquor licensed event, it's the same cleaning cost, and that's kind of what came to the fact that we should marry them together. There's no real, and the liquor license event is not a higher insurance cost because the firefighters at the Enterprise Hall, for instance, are actually getting their own alcohol insurance for that event. So it almost makes no sense to be charging them extra for cleaning costs and insurance costs when in fact those extra costs are being covered. And these are the discussions we had at a managerial level. I encourage council to have these discussions too. It's an interesting debate.
Anyone else? So these are proposed changes, Jake, that you're hoping to enact on the January 12th meeting. In the meantime, you want to hear from council between now and then on these fees. It looks like the one that Rob has raised is the only one that's particularly contentious. So we just encourage councillors to contact you up till that time. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we don't post it on our social media that this is what's coming and then wish-wash back and forth. I would prefer to communicate the final results or put them down as open for public discussion and input before we make that commitment, rather than saying this is what we're doing maybe we'll change our mind if you reach out to us after. Yeah, and to your point, Jake, the other thing too is we should discuss this with the Firefighters Association. If you can imagine this scenario, which I could see, you want to rent the hall for a birthday party, for example, and before you were at a significant lift, you went from 75 to 225 for an alcohol-related event, but now if it's a wash, you may say, well, sure, I'll take the bar. I don't know how the Firefighters Association feels about hiring a bartender for 2 days, or 2 hours, or 4 hours, or 6 hours, and selling 6 beer. So you got to put that in perspective, right? Just because the option is now wide open. So we do have to maybe discuss with them, since that's their entity. I'm happy even to defer this to the next meeting and discuss it at that point. This is a bit of a big deal for some of these things, but I just want other discussion if anybody else has their points.
Councillor Milligan?
Just along the same lines, I'm thinking of, again, approaching them to see what they think, because let's say people come from all over because it's so cheap, and then do they have enough staff and enough people with SmartServe that are really interested in working every single weekend? That's another thing to run by them.
Councillor Fenwick?
And to your point, Sherry, thanks for that input. I know that the bartenders, whether you have one or you have two, you don't know for sure. When it's a normal event like a dance, you know how many. And also they generally get paid, it makes it worth their while to tips. But if it's really just a novelty item, because there's no incentive to have it or not have it, or no, it's more, there isn't any sort of an investment on the renter's part to have it, to justify it, then yeah, they could be sitting there for next to nothing and burning up a Saturday evening. So because of obligation. So I just want to make sure that knowing how this operates and having seen 3 different birthday parties and parties from the Arden area, which I thought was great, but also they said to me, this is the best deal in town. So now it's even better. I can only imagine what we might be inviting. So just trying to be practical here. I would make a motion to defer this until the next meeting so we can have a chance to discuss it before we make any commitments to broadcasting anything to anybody.
So we already have a motion on the floor. How do you want to handle this one, Brandy?
Thank you, Reeve-Wise. If I may, I have a moved by Councillor Milligan and seconded by Councillor McDonald, the recommendations as written in the report to adopt them. So if the mover and seconder care to withdraw the motion, as long as you're both okay with that and the rest of council concurs with that, we can remove it off the floor. If there's anyone who disagrees with that, then you'll have to take a vote on it. And then I have a new motion drafted here, that it be received and that council provide written comment to staff on the proposed changes, and that staff be directed to consult with user groups and the public, and that the draft bylaw be brought back to a future council meeting. I would just, if you're looking for public consultation and consultation with user groups, we may want to do a little bit of a longer window than January 12th.
I don't know what it was either. So are the mover and seconder in agreement to withdraw the first motion that's on the floor?
I'm fine with that as long as we know
What
we're doing
Yeah.
until the next meeting.
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Wendy?
Sure. I don't see really too much problem with this. I mean, as Jake has mentioned, the management have gone through this, and we are then second guessing. And I thought everything looked pretty fair, but I will change it if everybody else wants me to. But I have no problem voting on this as well tonight to accept.
Okay, so, well, it means you have withdrawn your seconding motion. So Rob, do you want to make the motion that Brandy has drafted here?
That sounds very good. Yes, and motion to defer this, and I do agree, we can take a little bit of extra time. The rates haven't changed for some time. A few more months won't matter, or a few more meetings won't matter. When is we have a meeting in January, but then what
Well, we've got the 12th and then whatever the fourth Monday is.
26.
26th, is it? Yeah.
That should seem sufficient, especially the holidays getting in the way with such.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion then? Councillor Milligan, any further discussion? Are you comfortable with this then, Jake?
I mean, we're getting caught up in in the halls. The arena schedule's jam-packed, and I think, as I mentioned in the report, that it's just an accident. The arena is just so like inadvertently cheap by an accident made by me 2 years ago. And it just like, by just pushing it down the road, you guys realize you're, losing thousands of
losing
dollars a
revenue.
week at the Stone Mills Rec Center.
Makes a good point. My apologies, good point, Jake, thank you for the input. My only concern is really about the Enterprise Hall at this point.
Suggestions, Randy?
Thank you, Revise. If the concern is about the subsidized fees for the community groups, we can amend the motion. We can amend the draft bylaw, and what will be pushed out to the public is that the subsidized rate would continue for $20, and we could bump the daily rental rate for the community hall, so it wouldn't be just for Enterprise, it would be Newburgh Hall of the community halls for $175. That's what you had initially proposed. So the motion on the floor would be that the notice of intent to adopt the attached fees and charges bylaw at the regular council meeting of Monday, January 12th, 2026 is hereby given, that staff be directed to post such notice on the township's social media sites, that the attached draft bylaw be considered for adoption at the January 12th, 2026 regular council meeting, that the attached draft bylaw be updated to continue with a subsidized rate for $20 for nonprofit groups, church groups, community groups, seniors groups, youth adult fitness programming, and that the daily fee for a community hall go up to $175. So that's what would be published. So again, there was a motion on the floor to defer by Councillor Fenwick and Councillor Milligan. So if both mover and seconder and the rest of council are in support of taking that off the floor, then I'll need a mover and seconder for what I just read.
Are we in agreement then? So Councillor Fenwick and Councillor Milligan, you're in agreement with this? So that will allow you to get those arena fees back to where they ought to be. Everyone understand what we're doing? Glad someone does. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's good. That's the way it should go. Yeah, thrash it out and get her done. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Very good, thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. For convenience and efficiency, repetitive or routine matters are included in the consent agenda, voted on collectively. Before we vote on the entire consent agenda, are there any items anyone wishes to withdraw to discuss separately? Councillor Lalonde.
9.6 and 9.8.
9.6 and 9.8. Anyone else? Councillor Woodcock.
9.10 and 9.11.
9.11. Anyone else? Councillor Fenwick.
9.3.
9.3. Okay, I'm just noting who wanted them taken out. Crystal Lee. And, sorry, Wenda, what was yours again? 9.6. Wenda. 9.8. And I want 9.4. So we've got 9.3, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, 9.10, and 9.11. Anyone else? Got all that? Okay. Can I get a motion to receive the rest of the items on the consent agenda? Deputy Reeve Davison, seconded by Councillor Milligan. All in favor? That's carried. So, Councillor Fenwick, 9.3, is that right? You wanted that one, Rob?
Yeah, short and sweet. I'd like to welcome a new employee. I'm going to pronounce this as best I can. It looks like Fayin Ulunga. Is that correct?
It's Ian with an F.
Fian. Oh, I told you it was going to be wrong.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having him join us.
Yes, it's fantastic to see that we've got a new addition to the team. I'd like to welcome him to the team and wish him the best of luck.
I agree. That does not require a motion. That is simply welcoming. Yes. Okay. Rob, do you want to make that motion to receive that one?
Make that motion to receive that,
And
yes.
seconders, Councillor Milligan, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 9.4, I guess that was me. Development charges collection, Ontario Bill 18. Jake has written a report on this, and I thought it was worth highlighting. I hope everyone has read it, because this does add a burden to Jake's job. Just in a nutshell, Jake, just for the sake of public information, do you want to just give us a little summary of why this might be a concern for you in your function as chief building official?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So currently, there's 3 different development charges, 2 from school boards and 1 Stone Mills development charge. And we have it in the opportune time. We can say, you must pay these development charges before your project gets started. And it's kind of a good system. I don't want to say it, but I mean, Doug has probably gotten leaned on by Premier Ford's been leaned on probably through developers that they would rather pay basically when their units are already sold, so it's money in, money out, and they don't have to carry the cost of development charges throughout the entire build. And in the cities, there's probably been very little pushback from an urban perspective, because developers are people that walk through every day with new building permits. And so whether you're paying in Toronto up front or paying at occupancy, it probably means not a lot to an urban building inspector or urban municipality. But in the rural areas, in a nutshell, there are people. There are builders that have already played the game a little bit, in the sense that they'll not call me for an occupancy inspection and pretend not to live in the house for a period of time, or maybe just not call me at all. That does happen too. But if they don't call for an occupancy inspection and they just claim they weren't living there, they don't have to pay taxes on the full build until the notification is sent to MPAC. And MPAC then sees, oh, they've got occupancy. They come out, they do their assessment, and they apply the full house tax. And now you could be, even giving them greater incentive, in the sense that I'm not calling because I don't want the house taxes applied, at this moment, and I don't have, 5 extra grand in my pocket for occupancy either. Now I got to pay that, and everybody knows that by the end of a build, you usually are broke. And so now I'm like, here, chasing you. Please call me for an occupancy inspection. Oh, by the way, you owe the municipality 5 grand. And it's just, it all works. And I've read in the report that for the most part it won't mean a lot, because most people are building their house under a construction mortgage, and that occupancy certificate is super important to get down to a lower interest rate. And builder's insurance is expensive. They're going to want that occupancy so they can get back to a normal insurance rate. However, I'm just saying there's still going to be that odd build where they're financing it themselves or privately, and the occupancy doesn't mean anything. And anyways, it's just another hazard that nobody talks about. In the rural areas, this is where it happens, where an owner would buy a lot and build a house. That doesn't happen in an urban area where 100% of the lots are built by developers. And it's just another circumstance where experiences in the rural areas don't mean a lot when it comes to policies in Toronto. So anyways, that's my nutshell story. So
Thanks, Jake. Any questions or comments on that one? Yeah. So I'm just thinking, this comes into effect when, Jake, when does this legislation come into effect, or is it in effect now?
it was passed in the report I wrote. It was through your worship. In the report I wrote, it was passed in July, and this DC component of it went into effect in November. So the only positive thing is that I think I'm going to just say, hey, your DC is this, and they're going to come in and pay it, hopefully.
Yeah, so.
And that, you know, hopefully it may take a number of years before people catch on, but.
Okay, so this is a heads up.
And I also spoke to, I've also spoke to, you know, I actually spoke to John Murphy, who wrote our DC bylaw, and he also said that if for some reason they don't pay and they just don't call and you're into a dispute, you can apply it to the taxes. He said that. So I'd have to talk to the solicitor before that happened, but.
It'd be interesting to talk to some of your colleagues in neighboring municipalities and see what their thoughts are, but it's basically, let's wait and see how this rolls out. Thanks, Jake. Can I get a motion to receive Jake's report? Deputy Reeve Davison, Councilor Lalande, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Then we had 9.6, Councilor Lalande.
In this item, there is mention of a nominee of the Emergency Management Exemplary Service Award, and the nominations will run till April 30th, 2026. It's a prestigious award that recognizes individuals and groups for their work to prevent, prepare, and respond to and recover from emergencies. And if you have someone in Ontario that you want to nominate, I would like to nominate the Stone Mills Fire Departments. I think they fit all of that criteria, as explained when they got this wonderful 2 letters from North Frontenac, as described by the competition that was held here in the summer, the multiple fires that we've had this year, the excellent response that we've received from the fire department, the actual communication that we get from the fire department, telling us of where they're at and what's happening. And I think we've got a really terrific group of teams, and I think somebody here should nominate them.
Thank you, Wenda. So you're basically moving receipt of this item and adding a nomination of the Stone Mills Volunteer Fire Department for this award.
Yes.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Milligan, any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Yes.
Just for clarity, are you going online to nominate them, or is that being directed to staff?
I'm pointing at our reef.
Okay.
I can do that. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Wenda?
Oh, that also covers my item 9.8.
9.8, so can we get a motion then to just receive and support 9.8? So that's Wenda's moving that one. Councillor Woodcock, you're seconding that? All those in favor? That was the thank you letter from North Frontenac for the mutual aid assistance by our fire department for their large fire. And Crystal, Councillor Woodcock, you have chosen 9.10, which is Quinte Conservation Media Release regarding the provincial plan to amalgamate conservation authorities. Did you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of changes to conservation authorities and their scope of work and their funding in the last few years. This is probably the most drastic change yet. The Ontario government is looking to reduce 36 conservation areas down to just 7. One conservation area would be the size of Switzerland, which you could imagine would have varying degrees of water issues, flood issues. When you have conservations on the ground, they know the areas that they're in, they have local knowledge and expertise. This is going to create a more of a concentration to a body that is also not going to be responsible to us. The municipalities pay about 51% of Quinte Conservation's funding. With this centralized model, who's to say how our municipal tax funds are spent? There's been no communication around what this governance structure will look like, what local representation will look like. And though conservation authorities are governed by provincial law, they are funded by us. So we don't know what that municipal oversight would be or the increase on our levies. We may not have a say in what that looks like. There's really no information on how this is going to be implemented. We've seen recently an amalgamation at school board level, which is likely to cause a decrease in local representation. There's just a whole concentration that's honestly like kind of, what's the word I'm looking like, kind of detracting from our democracy at this point. I'm just going to read a quote from Karen Nesbitt, who is the policy director of Association of Municipalities Ontario. She said that this would effectively, quote, weaken local municipal leaders' voice, leading to a major loss of local control over conservation and environmental protection in communities. Also, so this is nothing that bothered me when we had to make at Quinte Conservation a land inventory. And at the time, staff was like, this is a great document to have. And I thought, well, when I look at the changes to conservation authorities, I have a feeling that this land document, our assets, our land holding assets, may not be used for conservation purposes, because the power of conservation to conserve has been decreased. And we're really just now like flood prevention. This is from the Quinte Conservation letter. Under this consolidation, the province is proposing that all of Quinte Conservation's assets and liabilities will be the responsibility of the Regional Conservation Authority. It is not known at this time how prior commitments between municipalities, donors, organizations, and the authority will be affected. We may lose the control over some of these lands that were donated or sold for $1 to Quinte Conservation, and they may no longer have a say in how those lands are used. And those are some of those pieces of land are people's like life legacy projects that they've donated into conservation, and we may lose the ability to protect them. They're massive changes. At the same time, again, the province has not provided governance structure, how levies will be calculated, transition planning, what the local representation structure will look like, and how assets and liabilities will be handled. They also claim there'll be no service disruption, but they don't provide evidence of that. Cataraqui Conservation has indicated the programs and services will continue without disruption. At the same time, this is not demonstrated. There is no transition plan, and just an assurance is not sufficient. I would like us to pass a motion to send a letter that says that we would like municipalities to be consulted before this is implemented. Comments are open until December 22nd. I would also encourage us to post on social media asking the public to provide comment. This is really kind of taking away the power from our local hands while still keeping it tied to our purse. We see in lots of times, as we're saying, policy written for Toronto. Are we going to see bigger urban centers like deciding where money goes and we're paying the bill? Like, how much control are we going to have here? What is our say? And at the same time, when we look at just knowledge around like droughts, many, like our conservation authority, like water levels, that's a really local issue. These are formed around watersheds. And conservation areas have amalgamated before, but of their own choosing. And some have considered it and decided it's not in the best interest. But to be forced into an amalgamation that's not based on science or research or, there's an argument of streamlining process, but like you could give conservation areas the tools. There's no reason we can't implement technological improvements and streamlining of processes at the same time, taking away that control from a local hands. I don't see how that is going to, in the end, it could cost us more, to not have people on the ground who know where they're working and know the issues. So I would like us to have a letter that we send to, which is the ministry here? Got all my notes. I'm nervous, guys.
Well, it would be natural resources, would it not?
Yes. The Premier, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, to our MPP. We could also send it to Quinte Conservation, AMO, as well as the other municipalities that we share a watershed with. Just asking that municipalities be consulted before this drastic plan is implemented. There's been no like real
Consultation.
consultation. There's the word. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you're receiving this report and, or rather this resolution, the report from Quinte Conservation, and you wish to add that the municipality send a letter to the various provincial agencies involved in Doug Ford and copy Quinte Conservation on it, that you want more consultation before anything is implemented in regard to this amalgamation proposal. Have I got that clear? And seconded by Deputy Reeve Davison. Anything else you need on that one, Brandy?
Thank you, Reeve Wise. So I've just tried to capture what you had said here for a motion, that the Reeve be directed to draft a letter to the Ontario provincial government and relevant agencies in all Ontario municipalities outlining the township's concerns with the proposed amalgamation of the conservation authorities, and request that Ontario municipalities be consulted prior to the amalgamation of the conservation authorities.
Yes, thank you for capturing. That was, I said a lot, so thank you, Brandy.
Are you okay with that, Doug?
I have another comment. Okay, I'd just like to add to the comments that have been made. There is a concern with the portion of the Cataraqui Trail that is located in Stone Mills. The Cataraqui Region Conservation Authority will now become a member of the St. Lawrence Authority, and there's the Cataraqui Trail in Stone Mills does not fit into that jurisdiction. So that will be coming down the pipe at us some direction, whether or not the new Quinty organization will take it on or whether it'll be something else. Okay?
Thanks, Doug. Anyone else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Crystal Lee, you also wanted to address 9.11 City of Hamilton Council Resolution re-impacts of Provincial Bill 60.
I'm already tired from that last one. Okay. So, Bill 60. Several of us were at a recent gathering under the county level around homelessness here in Lennox and Addington County. Some of the most painful takeaways is that homelessness is growing much faster in rural areas than in urban centers. One of the fastest growing segments of homelessness, population segments, is senior citizens. This Bill 60 is really taking away even more of those rental protection rights. So since 2018, there are no buildings that have rental protection. Any building built after 2018 has no rental protections. Under this bill as well, currently it's if you're 14 days late on rent, you can be, like the motion to be evicted, now it'll be 7 days. There's also, it's usually a 30-day wait period to challenge a landlord-tenant board decision. That will be reduced to 15. You also won't be able to, so sometimes people withhold rent because they have, say, toxic mold or water not working. You're going to lose the ability to even get a hearing unless you are still paying, and you have to meet all these sort of, you have to be approved in order to have that as a factor in your hearing, as well as, there's another note there. I can't remember all the changes, but they're not good if you are living in a world where homelessness is just rapidly increasing. We now have homelessness encampments across every city and county across this country, and the most cost-effective way to prevent homelessness is to stop people from losing their homes. And when I also look at this, of course there are situations where people have difficult tenants, and that can cause a lot of stress for people. But when I look at this, and I'm not thinking of moms and pops that have a unit that is helping to fund retirement, that kind of thing. We have more and more of private equity firms, major corporations buying up huge swaths of housing. And I think I've mentioned here before, I was helping in Belleville before, in this one whole building, the entire building was getting reno-evicted. It was bought by a private equity corporation. They made everyone think they had to sign these forms or they would get nothing. A grandmother called me and said she traded childcare for groceries. She signed this because she thought that was the best deal she could get, and now she had nowhere to go. And this is going to make all of those kind of mass loss of homes just easier to happen. I don't know what else to say other than I guess sending a letter in similar support of I don't know what to do. I think it's kind of
You can
I'm scared for what comes next for so many people.
you can just move to receive and support the recommendation in Hamilton Council already, so that our municipality will be added to their resolution.
Yeah, I know. I meant to look at their fine points, but then I was kind of looking at the broader scope. But I'm happy to do that as your suggestion to receive and support that letter.
Yep.
This is you know, unfortunately, these are no longer just urban problems, they're rural as well, and it's going to impact people in our community. And also just wanted to say, at that same homelessness event, people were saying around the rate of seniors losing their housing, it's a lot of times it's like couples where one person passed away and somebody's always handled the money, and now you could be someone who hasn't had that task and you're 7 days late on rent, and now you are looking at losing your housing. Like, it's quite dire, so.
Thank you, Crystal Lee. We have a motion to receive and support Hamilton Council's resolution. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Milligan, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to notice of motion or direct motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion this evening for an upcoming meeting? No one? Crystal Lee?
Okay, so a notice of motion, because we're going to be going into budget soon. And I definitely, while knocking on doors before, like, hear a lot of concerns around speeding in hamlets. And I meant to reach out to Brandy, but then I was like, I've run out of time. I'm working way too much. What I would like is to have a report come to council around potential for traffic calming measures. In every hamlet, people are concerned about speeding, and I hear sometimes it could be maybe it's an issue of perception or maybe it's real. At the same time, there are really interesting and low-cost opportunities for reducing traffic. Specifically, like the road narrowing and lane delineators. And why I say that is some rural communities have put in speed bumps and a tractor can't drive over it. They don't work. But road delineators, they cause a visual narrowing, they're low cost, and a tractor can drive right over them, they'll pop right back up. So some of those traffic calming measures, and partly is like, yes, we can put, speed, those like flashing, slow down things, but to me, you can change a culture of driving by some of these mechanisms, saves money, makes our hamlets safer. So just like a report on what that might look like, what the cost might be of some of those, where we might target them first. I had thought if we had got to strategic planning that would be revealed sort of in community consultations and we move through that way. But with the budget coming, I'd like us to have this report so we can try and move on it.
Okay, so
That was a lot. I should have written to Brandy first and made that a smoother motion, but.
No, that's good. So you'll be seeking to get council support for a motion to get a report from staff on traffic calming measures. Okay? So you've noted that, Randy? Okay. Anyone else have a notice of motion? Anyone have a direct motion on an urgent matter to be dealt with this evening? None? In that case, there's a note under it brings us to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? Councillor Milligan.
I just wanted to let everyone know that on Thursday, the 11th, this Thursday at 1 o'clock at the Tamworth Legion, we're having a seminar on fraud prevention. The OPP Community Engagement Officer is coming to do a talk, and everyone's welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else have an announcement? Councillor Fenwick.
Pretty straightforward. For the first time in quite a few years, there will be a New Year's Eve dance in the Enterprise Community Hall. And the interesting part about this, there'll be a youth New Year's Eve dance prior, following a similar model to the Halloween parties that happen. So I'm not sure exactly when the times are, but there will be a 2 or 3 hour window of youth party, which will end at, I think, bedtime's like 8 o'clock or something like that. And which is, I think it's a great concept for them to celebrate New Year's without actually staying up past their bedtime. And then the adults will join in. And proceeds are going, from what I've been told, to Enterprise School, which is fantastic. So I'm excited to see that happening again in the village. So it's all for a good cause.
Thanks, Rob. Did you have one, Wenda?
Yes, I just wanted to thank anyone out there who organized the Santa Claus Parade in both Tamworth and Newburgh. They were wonderful. Newburgh had the snowfall, which was so beautiful to be walking through the village with the snow falling, and the people still came out. It was great. And Tamworth, the parade was wonderful, but it was after the parade back at the Legion, they had cordoned off and created this Santa's gift shop where little kids could come in and with their little gift tags, and they would get an elf to take them around to 5 or 6 long tables filled with gifts for children, adults, mother, father, teenagers, and then there were elves that would wrap them. I was a wrapper, and so it was wonderful to see these kids. It went on from probably 1:30 to 4 maybe, and children walked out with a bag full of 1, 5, 6 gifts that were going to be under the tree on Christmas morning for their mother, father, uncle, grandfather. It was really wonderful. Yeah, good organization, really good organization, and it was a pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you, Wenda. Did you have something, Jason?
Just from an administration point of view, we are planning a special meeting of council next week, which is not currently on the calendar, but an agenda will be posted. And we're working with council just to confirm the final details of that meeting. So just wanted to make sure that was verbalized at this meeting here.
Thank you. And on our agenda, we have upcoming council meeting dates. You will recall we changed our council meetings to second and fourth Mondays. So that means we've got Monday, January 12th, January 26th, February 9th, and February 23rd as the first 4 meetings in the new year. And with that, I have to announce that we have a closed meeting this evening pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act, and this is to discuss lease renewal and negotiations for township-owned facilities. And we can take 5 minutes. Oh, yeah, can I get a motion to go into closed session then, please, from Crystal Lee Woodcock and Councillor Wendell Land? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Okay, we've come out of our closed session meeting, and our rise and report motion would be, Brandy?
So that in the continuing interest of transparency and open government, the Reeve reports in open session that the following outcomes from today's closed session meeting. Direction was provided to staff, and the minutes from the November 17th closed session meeting were deferred as there was attachment issues to the agenda.
Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Land, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? That's carried. Can I get a mover and seconder for our confirmation bylaw? Councillor McDonald, Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Fenwick, Deputy Reeve Davison, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much.